Good evening. My name is Savannah Hughbanks, and this is my sister, Sabrina. We get the honor and privilege of introducing to you our brother.
Now, growing up with Ridge was interesting as well as exciting. Ridge was barely around the house for more than a few hours, but he always found time to spend with his sisters. Throughout his high school career, Ridge was involved in basketball and football and took care of his show hogs.
Whether it be helping him pick out clothes to go on his dates, giving him second opinions on his new haircuts, or criticizing him on his choice of music, you could say Sabrina and I have helped shape Ridge into the person he is today.
Growing up, Ridge drove tractors and combines during the summer. When Ridge was finally old enough, he would take Savannah and I on adventures around the big town of Alva, Oklahoma, where we would go to Sonic and have ice cream runs.
With being three of us and having Hughbanks blood running through our veins, we have been very competitive in everything that we do. This constant bonding, competitiveness, and lifelong memories that we have made together has made us value our time spent together. Please join my sister and I in welcoming our brother
and your state FFA President, Ridge Hughbanks.
I'm a hard-working man. I wear a steel hard hat. I can ride rope, a hammer and paint, do things with my hands that most men can't. I can't get ahead no matter how hard I try. I'm getting really good at barely getting by. Got everything I own by the sweat of my brow. From my four-wheel drive to my cowboy boots, I owe it all to my blue-collar roots. Feel like I'm working overtime on a runaway train. I got to bust loose from this ball and chain. I'm a hard-working man. I got it all on the line for a piece of the promised land. And I'm burning my candle at both ends. About the only way to keep the fire going is to outrun the wind. Come Friday night, I like to party hard. I carry on with the Cadillac cutie, spend my whole week's pay on some weekend beauty. Come Monday morning, I'm the first to arrive. I ain't nothing but business, y'all, from 9 to 5. I'm a hard-working man. I got it all on the line for a piece of the promised land. And I'm burning my candle at both ends. About the only way to keep the fire going is to outrun the wind. I can't wait to get up in the morning and do it all over again. Well, I'm a hard-living, hard-working man. A hammer and paint, do things with my hands that most men can't. I can't get ahead no matter how hard I try. I'm getting really good at barely getting by. Got everything I own by the sweat of my brow. From my four-wheel drive to my cowboy boots, I owe it all to my blue-collar roots. Feel like I'm working overtime on a runaway.
Isn't this life all about technical difficulties? 180 acres, a pretty decent-sized tract of land just waiting to be tilled. I was 12 years old and ready to start my first summer of independent work on our family farm, and I just received my first assignment. Go get the tractor and disc and till Grandpa's field. There are few things in life quite as exciting as a diesel engine clicking away below your feet. The raw power of a tractor, combine, or old Ford truck provides an almost surreal feeling every time you rev her up a bit. 12-year-old me was ready to open the throttle up and get to work. I felt like I was ready to hop in a 12-wheel drive monster, pulling at least a 50-foot implement. Get in, knock the field out, and get out before anybody knew I had even been there. The only problem was, the behemoth that I'd envisioned, it didn't exist. And instead, what waited for me was a John Deere 4430 with a 12-foot disc, which happens to be not right here. So be it. I remember getting into the cab, starting it up, and thinking to myself, it'll take me 2 days, tops. 12 feet wasn't the biggest, but I was bound and determined to make up for lost time by whatever means necessary. So I got to work, and with each pass making a 12-foot swath, it felt like I was getting nowhere. Driving in circles, pass after pass after pass, looking for any possible way to go faster, but finding no real alternative to act on. I was fine until the neighbors pulled in and knocked their field out in a little under a day, leaving me to my eternal spinning. I realized in that moment I had three options: get a bigger tractor, give up, or keep going. I weighed my options and quickly came to the realization there would be no bigger tractor in my near future. And Mama didn't raise no quitter. So I kept going and going and going. 2 weeks, 2 bearings, a flat tire, some Freon for the AC, and 28 bologna sandwiches later, I finally finished my assignment. I learned lessons during that 2-week period that would last me a lifetime. For example, I learned that even though going faster might get you done a little bit quicker, you can also tear everything up in the process, tractor and field included. I learned that the human body can survive for at least 8 hours without water if you happen to forget your water jug at home. I also learned that being too proud to ask for help can sometimes cause you to go for 8 hours without water, even though there's somebody at home ready, willing, and able to bring it to you if you just ask. Yeah, that old tractor, it's been one of my best friends. I spent countless hours in the cab laughing, singing, pondering all the questions of life, but most importantly, discovering what FFA and agriculture truly meant to me. Oh, but don't let it fool you. My best friend, so to speak, was also my worst enemy. It doesn't always start on the first turn. It doesn't pull the biggest implement. And half the time, it doesn't even have air conditioning. But I always found a way to get the job done. And I learned how to get the job done right, slow and steady. I learned about life from a 4430 and a 12-foot disc. FFA members, whether you realize it or not, we are blessed with the opportunity to live in the greatest country in the entire world. It's true. Living in America, I'm sure we've all heard this saying, bigger is better. Because who wants a regular Snickers bar when you can have a king-size, bacon-wrapped, deep-fat fried Snickers bar on a stick? Am I right? Absolutely. Well, for my entire life, I always felt like things had to be bigger and better. I first got started in FFA my freshman year of high school. And if I'm being completely honest with you guys, I didn't see what made it so special. You see, I'd always been involved in agriculture, but to me, FFA was just another organization, a way to pass my time until I got into college. I'll never forget my first day of ag class, walking to the back of the room and taking my seat with Mr. Nation's class. It's nice, isn't it? That day, Mr. Nation was going over how to properly evaluate livestock, I remember hearing some of the terms and definitions and thinking to myself, yeah, I don't think this livestock judging thing's for me. But you see, the problem is that mindset, it was contagious. I coasted my way through my freshman and sophomore years of FFA, occasionally trying a contest here and there, but never really finding the place that I enjoyed. In fact, it wasn't until I was accepted into the state convention chorus that I found a part of this organization that I was passionate about. What I began to realize is that the things I enjoyed doing in FFA were things that I had to go about doing and discovering on my own. And that my biggest passion was the people in the organization. You see, my chapter was really good and known for a few specific areas that I wasn't really passionate about. And I wanted to change that. I wanted to make my chapter bigger, more diverse, create more opportunities for others. So I ran for chapter office, and I didn't get it. Talk about a heartbreak, right? You see, this came at a time in my life when I felt like I didn't have anything going for me. I was struggling with my career development events, and I was terrible at dairy foods. I was struggling to own and care for a show pig, a species, mind you, I had no experience with until my freshman year. I wasn't playing on any of the sports teams I was a part of, and I was facing personal battles at home, with my sisters going to a new school in a new state. And man, was I down on myself. But I began to realize what my problem was. I was focused on me. No one else mattered. All I cared about was making myself larger than my circumstances. And all that brought me was disappointment and anger, especially towards the FFA. You see, the late Ziegler famously stated, as you climb the ladder of success, don't forget to reach down and bring others up with you. For if you don't, the day will come when those same people reach up and pull you back down. I can remember sitting with my family halfway through my sophomore year and just wanting to quit. I wanted to say goodbye to the organization that didn't have a place for me. I wanted to focus on sports, show choir, anything but this blue and gold jacket. But something stopped me. Thankfully, something stopped me. A special place and a very special book. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such, there is no law. You see, what I realized is that my focus was wrong. My entire idea about living a big life was wrong. I had to step back and ask myself, what did I mean by wanting to live a big life? Did I truly want to live for some bigger calling or cause? Or did I just want things in my life to get bigger in number or size? I had to ask myself questions like this. Does the bigger person make more money? Or do they take time out of their day to listen to what's happening in someone else's life? Does the bigger person actively seek out starting fights? Or do they seek to resolve issues that are already at hand? Does the bigger person point out where other people fall short? Or do they seek to build people up because of their shortcomings? You see, when we think about it in this scenario, we realize that there's a distinct difference. And what I had to learn is that the bigger person always keeps their word and is always a friend first. The bigger person is quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. The bigger person wants others to be better. The bigger person lives to serve. Now, it'd be nice if after I came to this realization, it just changed like that. My life just changed in an instant. But we all know that life isn't like that. But those times when I was going through trials and tribulations, I could reflect on one of my favorite quotes from one of my life role models and one of our former presidents. You see, Theodore Roosevelt had a famous speech best known as the man in the arena. And it goes a little bit like this. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place will never be among those cold and timid souls that neither know victory nor defeat. Powerful words, right? Don't you wish people still talk like that today? You see, we have one life to decide how we are going to live and what the significance of our time on this earth is going to be. But what happens is that along the way, we lose sight of why we're doing what we're doing. People forget about people. If you don't believe me, just look at the headlines. How often do we see stories of individuals that embezzle money from their company, cheat on their significant other, or worse, start taking other human lives, all in the name of fame, infamy, or potential profit? What we must realize is that we have one life and one choice on how we're going to live. But along the way, what happens is we get lost in this idea that some way, somehow, we can become larger than life. Whether it be through money, titles, or possessions, we lose sight of what truly matters. I want you to do something for me. Just look around you. Look at everyone gathered here in the Cox Convention Arena tonight. Pretty incredible, right? Now, if you would, turn to the person sitting next to you. Just look into their eyes. What you see is the greatest gift that each of us have been given. A life, a soul, and a chance. You see, FFA members, there are nearly 27,000 of us, 7,000 of us in the Oklahoma FFA, the fourth largest association in the nation. That's pretty incredible, right? I'd like to think so. Absolutely. You see, when it comes to Oklahoma FFA, there's a lot of numbers that I'm proud of. Like the number 9, as in 9 national prepared public speaking champions from the state of Oklahoma, the most in the nation. What about the number 10? Yeah, absolutely. As in 10 American star farmers from the state of Oklahoma, the most in the nation. What about the number 8? As in 8 national FFA presidents from the state of Oklahoma, the most in the nation. How about the number 28? As in 28 national Agri-Science Fair division finalists from Oklahoma, the second most in the nation. We can't win them all, but we do a pretty good job. You see, as an FFA member and as an agriculturalist, these are numbers that I'm proud of. But as a steward of the land, there's some numbers associated with Oklahoma that I'm not proud of. Like the number 157,000. As in 157,000 Oklahomans are currently unemployed. What about the number 654,000? As in 654,000 Oklahomans alone are food insecure. Maybe the number 4,200. As in 4,200 Oklahoma families have no roof over their head tonight. You see, we hear numbers like these thrown around all the time, and it's easy to think of them as just that, just numbers. But if we think about the numbers that we're playing with here, and we think about the number of FFA members and guests here in the convention arena tonight, there's a good chance that the person sitting next to you helps make up one of these statistics. And we can all think of those individuals in our own home and communities that do indeed make up these statistics. You see, when we put faces to the numbers, they no longer become just numbers. So what we realized is that there is a fine line in this life between having too much and not having enough. And I believe this point is best summarized by the famous humorist and storyteller Jerry Clower. Any Jerry Clower fans in the house? Very good. Well, you see, Jerry had a little bit in his summarization of the story of Solomon in the book of Proverbs. Now, I'm no Jerry Clower, but I think he would have said it a little like this. But it is far better to eat turnip greens and poke salad for every meal, live in a shotgun house and be dirt poor, than it is to be rich and live in a mansion where you eat charbroiled ribeyes for every meal, have a wash tub in your backyard, all the big cars that money can buy, have all the money of your heart's desire, but be fighting and griping all the time. What Mr. Clower so elegantly states with his Mississippi River talk is that it is far better to be poor and to love than it is to be rich and all you got is your cotton-picking riches. So I've got a question for you. How do you define wealth? What makes a person wealthy? Is it the watch on their wrist? The clothes that they wear? Maybe it's the car that they drive or the house that they live in. Well, I would like to share with you all my definition. It was told to me by my grandfather, whose mother told it to him. He sat me down and he said, "Ridge, I woke up this morning one of the richest men in the world. I have a roof over my head, 3 meals in front of me, and $1 in my pocket. What do I have to complain about?" Did you catch that? Let's put our iPhones, Beats, and tablets away for a second. We might just miss the significance of it. 3 meals in front of us, a roof over our heads, and $1 in our pockets. How often do we take for granted all the blessings that we've already been given in this life, all because our clothes aren't the most expensive, our phone isn't the newest model, our house doesn't have a theater, swimming pool, you name it. My question is, when will we start caring as much about this idea of living to serve as we do about the slow Wi-Fi signal that won't let me show you this really cute cat video? I promise it's funny. It's just got to finish loading. You see, the problem is that we as a generation and as a society might never reach that point. But you can. It has to start with you, with I. Each of us has a choice of how we are going to live our lives. Now, I'm not asking you to throw away everything that you've been given. And I'm not asking you to stop enjoying all the things that we've already been blessed with in this life. I'm asking you to start using the things that you've been given to start living for something bigger than yourself. And here's the kicker. You don't have to have millions of dollars to do it. Each of us can think of individuals in our own lives that seem bigger than life because they're so selfless with theirs. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but Ridge, how do I do it? How do I live for something or become something bigger than myself? I believe the answer to that can be found in the FFA motto. Learning to do. Figure out what you want most out of this life. You got to believe it with your whole heart and pursue it passionately without ceasing. In order to find those areas of our lives where we need to grow, we have to self-evaluate. It's amazing what we can learn about ourselves if we will just take the time to sit down and write out the events of a day and how we handled certain situations. Once we've isolated those area changes in our lives, we need to implement those changes on a day-to-day basis. You see, Aristotle states that the way to attain a virtuous life is to practice often until those virtues become habit. Doing to learn. Make every day matter. We each have a choice when we wake up in the morning of how we're going to spend the next 24 hours. We must learn to start appreciating the little details more. How often have you had a time in your life when you've been nose to the grindstone, just going, and then all of a sudden, something reminds you to just stop, take a breath, and appreciate the moment that you're in? You see, if we'll start focusing on doing the little things right, we'll gain a deeper appreciation for just how much work goes into every single item in creation. We'll gain a little bit better of an understanding of how much care and love was taken into consideration when we were being created. But most of all, the beauty and the light of God's work is able to shine through in the world around us and inside of us. Earning to live. As FFA members, we know the value of a hard-earned dollar. Better than anyone else, we know how much work goes into making a project successful, but about how doing that work makes it so much more rewarding. You see, hard work is what pushes us to reach for even greater heights than we had ever envisioned for ourselves. And it's the engine that drives this country forward. Living to serve. You see, serving others doesn't just mean being selfless in the way that we serve others. It means admitting and realizing that we need help too. Put your pride away and realize that the bigger person knows when to go about things on their own, but more importantly, they know when to ask others for help. The bigger person knows when to serve without borders, but they also know when to tear their own walls down, bring others in, and be made better for the process. I will guarantee you that there are individuals in your own life that want to build you just as badly, if not worse, than you want to build them. So how do we do it? How do we escape ourselves? Well, for me, I joined an organization that was larger than myself. But with so many different ways that we can live our life and different avenues that we can take, what makes this blue and gold jacket so special? Learning to do. Doing to learn, earning to live, living to serve. You see, it took me a long time to realize it, but this blue and gold jacket can steer a life towards living for something bigger than yourself. And it's high time I thank some of those individuals that have helped me get to this point. To all members of the Alva FFA chapter, current and past, and all the members of the officer teams that I had a chance to serve with, thank you. Thank you for believing in me and for pushing me to reach for greater heights than I had ever envisioned for myself. I am the man I am today because I had such a solid foundation in the Alva FFA chapter. To my advisors, you never gave up on the ornery, sarcastic young man that sat in the back of your class and oftentimes was probably too loud for his own good. Thank you for believing in me, for pushing me outside of my comfort zone, and for helping me find my place in this organization. Oh boy. Thank you. To my old team, the memories and the friendships that we have forged will forever be appreciated in my heart. Thank you for being my dysfunctional family. Thank you for giving up a year of your life to serve these members and prepare me to best lead my team. But most of all, thank you for the constant support and for making this year so successful. To my team, what a year it has been. It didn't matter the obstacle that set before you. You always found a way to overcome and surpass all expectations that have been set before you. I'm honored to be associated with you, not just as your president, but as your friend. The Oklahoma FFA could not have blessed me with a better group of individuals to serve alongside this year. Teammates for a year, family for life. FFA members, when you zip up this blue and gold jacket, you become a part of multiple generations of passionate agriculturalists. Young men and women destined to change the future and make it better for others yet to come. Today, we continue that rallying call to service. We unite under the Oklahoma FFA, and we work day in and day out to create something bigger than ourselves. We work tirelessly to ensure that each other and this entire state is the best that it possibly can be. You see, one of the lessons that I had to learn in this life is that bigger isn't always better. And that when we focus on making the wrong part of our lives bigger, we lose all progress that we had been working towards up to that point. There's an old saying that where much is given, much will be expected. And I hope that you will believe me when I tell you that we all have been given an incredible amount of blessings in our lives. One of the blessings that I have been given in this life that I have found enjoyment in, and I find that others seem to enjoy it a little bit too, is through singing. You see, singing is what brought me into this organization, and so I figure, why not sing my way out? So if it's okay with you all, I have a song for you tonight. You know what? On second thought, the way tonight's going with all the dysfunction that's going on, I don't care if you want me to sing for you or not. I'm going to sing anyway. I've got family and friends that have traveled a long way to be here tonight, and I happen to know that my grandmas are both here, and they want to hear me sing worse than anybody else here in this convention hall. So, with that in mind, is there anybody here tonight that's familiar with Frank Sinatra? Well, that's good to hear. For those of you that don't know who Sinatra is, back when music was still worth listening to, he was the king of music. One of my favorite songs that he did all the time is one that I believe best summarizes my life and my approach to everything that I do. So, for my final number, at least I can say I did it my way. This is for you, Grandma. And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do and saw it through without exemption. I planned each careful step, each charted course along the byway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. For what is a man? What has he got if not himself? Then he has not to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way. FFA members, how will you live for and become something bigger?